Hello students, let us try to generate this pattern on the screen. So what I did is I put a matrix over here, or I tried to see it in the terms of matrix. So you can see there are total 3 groups. One is this part which is a space, then this part which is a triangle, and again this part which is another triangle. So you can divide this into 3 parts, right? So this particular thing can be represented in 3 parts. One is the triangle, then this part, and then this part. Now I have to write a program for this. So you have to remember always that the row is represented with I, right? And column we will represent with J. Now if you try to see, when I is equal to 1, total spaces that I am getting here is 1, 2, 3 and 4. And after 4 this 1 is printed, right? So if you try to see here, when I is 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, total 4 spaces have been printed, and after that the 1 is printed. Now from where this 1 has got we will see this later. First of all, what did I say? When I is 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, that means if I write here as spaces, so I am getting total 4 spaces. And say here n is what? The number of rows. So here the number of rows are say 5, right? Total 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, total 5 rows are there. So when n is equal to 5, the first line has spaces 4 when your I is 1. Now try to understand second, I is equal to 2. Now when I is equal to 2, how many spaces are there? 1, 2, 3. That means total spaces are 3. See, n is 5, spaces are 3 and I is 2. Can you find out the logic behind it? I say when row is 5, space in first row it is coming as 4, in the second row it is coming as 3. What will be the value when I is equals to 3? That means I'll be having 2 spaces here. So spaces will be 2. What logic we are getting here? That means every time when I want to print the spaces, number of spaces, they are nothing but the number of rows minus the value of I. That many spaces you are getting. That means 5 minus 1 is equal to 4. 5 minus 2 is equal to 3, in this way, right? So this is the logic for space. That means the very first thing what we need to do is we need to write the logic for number of rows, to generate number of rows. So what do we write? I is equal to 1, I is less than equals to 5, because here n is 5, or you can say it as n. So I will call it as say n, and then I plus plus. Now in this for loop which is talking about the number of rows, I have to write the logic for each 3 different triangles. That means 1 for loop, 2 for loop and 3 for loop. That means inside this rows for loop for these rows I need to write 3 for loops. That means first for loop which will be for say spaces, right? So inside this I'll be writing logic of this. Then next for loop which will be for the first. Now see, suppose I call it as right angle triangle. Okay, so this is right angle triangle, this is left angle triangle. So next logic will be for right angle triangle. And then I will be writing third for loop to generate left angle triangle. As simple as that. And that means in every line you will be printing the blank spaces followed by the number followed by the left angle triangle. Now if you see, in the first line there is no value to be printed. Now come to the second line. I is equals to 2. So then 3 blank spaces, then some 2 numbers 2, 3, and then that means for your right angle triangle 2, 3, and then for your left angle triangle there is single number, that is 1. Then you will come to third line, you will print blank spaces. First for loop will print spaces, second for loop will print this right angle triangle's number, and then third for loop will print the left angle triangle's number, in this way. Now only consider blank spaces. So what did I say? How to calculate a blank spaces? total number of rows minus the value of I. That will be helpful to calculate the number of spaces. So you need to write, now j is the column, right? So j variable represents the column. Now here I want to say that this is j. Now this is I comma j, right? So j, this is my j now. So you have to say that this j starts from which value and ends till which value. So it always starts with, it is starting with 1, right? Here it is starting with first column, and then in first column it is giving blank space, then it is going to second column, then it is giving blank space, then it is going to third column, then fourth column, until 4 columns it is giving blank spaces, and then it is stopping there itself. And then we are starting with the second for loop, which will start with this printing number of right angle triangle. And once the right angle triangle is printed, we will go and print left angle triangle with the third for loop. And once this entire line is printed, you will come to the next line, and for that purpose in the end what you will write is print f \n. So now let us just write the logic behind spaces. What you will write? So j is starting with 1. Now j is going till what? I mean, how many spaces it has to print? 4. From where did we get 4? So total number of rows minus the value of I, right? So my j is going till j less than equals to n minus I and j plus plus. And inside this I am doing nothing, I am simply printing space. That's it. So now if you try to go and see I is equals to 2. So j's I is 2 now. So it is coming for I value 2. It is saying j is equals to 1. So it yes, j is less than equals to n minus I. That means n minus 2. That is 5 minus 2. That is 3. So j will go till 3. So it will start with 1. It will go till 3. And that many 3 spaces it will print. So if you see 1, 2, 3. When I is 2. It is printing 3 spaces. Right? So I am getting 3 spaces. So in this way. Now once I have the spaces, I need to generate this right angle triangle. Now if you see the right angle triangle, the iteration, now when your I is 1, j is executing only once. When your I is 2, j is executing twice. When I is 3, j is executing thrice, in this way. So your j loop for second right angle triangle loop will start with 1, but it will go only till your I value and j plus plus. So what it is doing, it is starting with 1 because that many digits you have to print. So when I is 1, only 1 digit it has to print, but when I is 2, it has to print 2 digits. When I is 3, it has to print 3 digits. When I is 4, it has to print 4 digits, in this way. So for that purpose, I starts with 1, it goes till I, and in that we have to print the value. Now if you see the value, it is similar to what you have in I. So when I is 2, it is starting with 2, but then it is automatically incrementing. So if you say ki I will print I value and then I'll increment, no, you cannot do that because your I is a row value. So if you print it here and if you try to increment here to make it 3, that will disturb the actual I value. So you cannot do that. And for that purpose, you need an extra variable. Say you can use some variable before this I, this loop, and you just give the value to that variable. Say I say k is equals to I. So this k will have the value of I, and then what you can do is you can print this value. So %d, and you are printing k. So for example, when I was 1, so I ki value we have given to k. So now k is 1 and you are printing it. Next time, in next iteration, when I is 2, so I is 2, so now we are putting 2 into k, and now you will print 2 into here. So 2 is printed, but now it should be incremented. It should become k. So what you will have to do, you will have to write k plus plus, so that for the next iteration for the column, it will print 3. That is done, right? This is done now. Now coming to the next, now 2, 3 is done. Now it goes to the next part, that it has to print the left angle triangle. So now it has to print this thing, and in the first part it has to print this thing. So if you see here, the left angle triangle starting with the 0 value, there is nothing in the columns. Next it having single. So for the value of I is equals to 1, first time j is not executing, but when I is 2, j is executing once. When I is 3, j is executing twice. When I is 4, j is executing thrice. Sorry, something is wrong. Okay, this is I is equals to 4 and this is I is equals to 5. So when I is equals to 4, it is going for 4 times. That means your j is starting with 1, but it is going 1 less than the I value. So how will you write? J less than equal to I minus 1 and j plus plus, because your I is going 1 less than the value of I. Sorry, j is going 1 less than the value of I. When I is 1, j doesn't execute, but I is 2, j executes for once. When I is 3, j executes for twice, in this way. Now inside here, if you see, whatever value of I, if this is I is equals to 2, or if you say this value, the previous value, it is decrementing that value, right? So the previous value was given by which variable? If you see the previous value, that is k. Every time k is incrementing. So for example, in this row, k was 3 now. Now next time k becomes 4 and it goes and checks. So it is out of the range because it ends the right angle triangle there itself. But now your k is 4 and you are entering into the left angle triangle. So you have to take the same value here now in this loop, k. But what you will do? You will decrement it by 2. Now suppose take this. In this problem, k is 5. Right, and next time for the next iteration it has become 6, but if you see, the right angle triangle has ended, so k value is 6. So in left angle triangle, that k value will become minus 2. So now what you can do here is, you can simply print f value of %d k minus 2, right? So you are simply putting value of k minus 2, and then what you can do, you can again increment k minus 1. That means you are decrement k minus 1. So now it was 2, now it is 4, so 4 minus 1, that will be 3, so that will become 3 in this way. So you are taking the same value, but you are subtracting minus 2 from that number, and then you are printing it. And if you try to execute this program, you will see that you are getting this kind of pattern.